Technology in its very nature is assistive. I mean, all technology is assistive. It allows us to do things that we otherwise couldn't do. So to me, it's a little bit of a tricky question, because where does that line between ability and disability, where do you cross that line? So when you look at it from that perspective, all technology has the potential to be assistive technology. So that's really opening doors. I think just the mindset around the ideas of inclusivity and inclusive design is really changing the whole market. So you do have assistive technologies such as exoskeletons and things that are making tremendous progress and enabling us to do better things in rehab, for example, that we weren't able to do before. But I think some of the biggest and most exciting markets are actually in the ability to create mainstream technologies that also complement differing abilities, so it's enabling more people with a more disparate set of abilities to engage in things like employment and education, etc.
Which segments of the population are using these sorts of technology the most, or really in need of these technologies?
That's a fantastic question. I'd say all of us, you know. I'd be lost without my digital calendar, for example. As the nature of our society changes, as the things we want to do changes, the technologies we rely on to do it changes as well. So when you're looking at things like assistive technology, for example, my research focuses on creating new ways of innovating on technology to support aging. That's a huge population for looking at what some people consider to be assistive technologies, but when you think about aging, we don't think of it as a disability. However, a lot of technologies that do support aging can also support people with disabilities.
So talk about some of the ways in that population, as people are getting older. Talk about some of the important ways that it's really helping in terms of quality of life.
Quality of life is what makes us want to be alive. It's our perceived and subjective value and satisfaction with the life we're living. And when you talk to most people, that's what they're most interested in being able to do. So a lot of the technologies, assistive technologies, not just supporting health, but really it's helping people to access things that support quality of life. So these are the things that make you want to be alive, such as access to hobbies, safety, education, employment, community, etc. So there's this challenge and great opportunity to create technologies that support personhood and not just sort of our classic example of health. And I think, you know, also looking at how can we sort of be more proactive in creating technology to actually mitigate or prevent disability. So if you think about people in the workplace, for example, how could we create technologies that prevent mental health or physical disability through workplace?
How beneficial is it for someone who does have access to these sorts of tools versus someone who doesn't?
It's a game changer. I think, you know, anyone who lost their mobile phone for a day suddenly realizes how much they rely on it. In that respect, thinking about how we can use technologies to support more inclusivity, it's such a game changer. And now with the cost of a lot of tech coming down, as well as the versatility of tech going up, there's so many, it's just such an exciting time because there's so many opportunities for technology to really help people engage in society in ways that are meaningful to them.
How crucial are these technologies, especially for people with disabilities, in terms of keeping them engaged and employed and really having a sense of community?
You know, if a technology can help someone do something they couldn't otherwise, or engage in employment that they'd like to do but otherwise couldn't, I mean, that's a game changer. Not only, you know, it's a kind of win-win where employers have access to people with skills that they may want, but as well for some people, for a lot of people, being able to be employed and to engage in employment, whether that's paid or otherwise, that is a tremendously important part of our lives. And, you know, as we were talking about before, fundamental to a good quality of life is being able to access those tasks or jobs that you want to do. So this is increasing you know, increasing pressure from legislation, but I think just societal pressure too, again, towards inclusion, is pushing employers to think of ways that they can leverage technology to support people's needs in the workplace. What those supports are, it's absolutely dependent on that person and it's dependent on their job, context, et cetera, as is true for everyone. The technologies that we use to support our needs depends on what our abilities are and what our context is, et cetera.